Wow, I'm so P. Mariah don't even know. I mean, this bitch still fucking. Goddamn CO give it a box quicker than the FedEx work. He don't be telling my business, man.
This whole Young Thug and Mariah The Scientist saga just exploded into something way deeper than anyone thought. We already saw Mariah call it quits after those jail calls started leaking, especially that jaw-dropping one where Thug was bragging like it was nothing about messing around with a corrections officer. That moment alone had people stunned, but what's coming out now makes the story even more shocking. Turns out, Mariah wasn't completely blindsided by these leaks. She allegedly knew about the recordings almost a year before the public did, and instead of just brushing it off, she was doing everything she could to keep them under wraps. Word on the street is she was in direct contact with a blogger who had possession of some of these jailhouse audios and was sitting on them before they started circulating online. The receipts are crazy. Back in October 2024, Mariah was practically pleading with this blogger not to release the audio. And it wasn't just a quick, please don't post this type of message. She poured her heart out, making it clear how much pain this situation was causing her. The texts show her saying, "I would have been willing to find a creative way to support you. This is seriously hurting me. My relationship has been destroyed in so many ways. You have no idea. I've already been embarrassed, and I truly wish this wasn't happening to me. Can you please delete the post? I'm begging you just to work with me as a person, as a woman. This has truly affected me and has taken away my desire to live life to the fullest. If you can let me know what you spent investing in those videos, and I will reimburse you." That's heavy. She wasn't just embarrassed, she was devastated, admitting that the whole situation crushed her spirit and her relationship. And the fact that she even offered to reimburse the blogger for the money spent to get those clips shows how desperate she was to bury them. She wanted this nightmare gone so badly that she was ready to come out of pocket to make it disappear. This paints a whole different picture of what was really going on behind the scenes. It wasn't just about leaked calls. It was about Mariah fighting behind closed doors, trying to protect her peace, her image, and the last pieces of her relationship with Thug before it all came crashing down.
If she had a visitation with him and it was the same day of one of her performances or her shows, guess what she chose? She chose Thug.
The messages between Mariah and this blogger only make things look even more intense. At one point, Mariah was literally begging, "Please talk to me." And the blogger fired back, "Can you call me real quick?" It's too much to type. That already shows how heavy this back and forth was. This wasn't some light conversation. This was full-on tension. On Sunday, October 20th, 2024, Mariah tried again to smooth things over. She texted, "Good morning. Was wondering if you could email me some of the stuff. I've had some time to calm down." A little later, she followed up with another text. "Well, good morning. Where are you at?" She was clearly anxious, wanting to know exactly what was happening with those recordings. The blogger eventually replied, "Hey, at IV therapy, I'll hit you when I'm back home." Mariah responded politely with, "Okay, thank you." Hours later, the blogger checked back in with, "Almost home, I'll send it." Soon after, she updated again. "Just sent you a large email file of text messages." Did you get the email? The tone of these exchanges shows how much Mariah was hanging on to every word, trying to make sure she was in control of the situation. Then Mariah hit the blogger with something deeper. She asked, "Your answer won't change our agreement, but rather will have an effect on how I feel. Are you agreeing to this because you really understand? Or is it about the money?" That's not just a casual question. That's a woman searching for some kind of trust, some kind of emotional honesty in the middle of a nightmare. She added, "I just want to know that someone understands me." And my next question is, would you ever help me look into FOIA process? I'll talk about that later. If I decide I wanted that help, FOIA, meaning the Freedom of Information Act, showed she was even thinking about pulling official records if it came down to it. She was ready to explore any angle to protect herself. The blogger's reply was equally dramatic. "Honestly, Mariah, it's both. From a woman's perspective, I feel you. I can understand why you wouldn't want it out. From a business perspective, I'm actually taking a loss financially, but because you absolutely have pulled in my heartstrings, I will make the sacrifice and just rely on the universe to bless me."
The most disappointing thing of this whole, thing with Young Thug is he didn't give a fuck about that girl at all. He got Mariah like all fucked up in the head at her shows and shit. That's her money, man. And then on top of that, he got caught saying, I'm still in here fucking. Mariah doesn't even know.
Yes, I help only if you're strong enough to handle it. That response was layered. It was part compassion, part business talk, and part warning. The blogger was basically saying, I'm doing this for you, but it's costing me money, so you better be ready to carry this weight. It shows how messy this whole deal was, blending emotional manipulation, financial strain, and the raw desperation of Mariah trying to salvage her dignity. Mariah responded with gratitude, telling the blogger, I appreciate you, honestly. The blogger came back with, thank you. And in that moment, it really did seem like they had some kind of understanding. At least on the surface, the bloggers showed empathy and even kept their word for a while. They didn't put those explosive recordings out themselves. But here's the thing, because those jail calls were technically public record, it meant anyone else could still get their hands on them and leak them. And that's exactly what ended up happening. So while the blogger might not have been the one to directly drop the calls, they weren't exactly innocent either. Word is, even though Mariah allegedly paid them to keep things quiet, they later turned around and exposed all of these private text messages to the public. That move felt like a betrayal, because now Mariah's desperation and pain were being showcased for the world to dissect. It's one thing to keep the audio locked up, but putting her private conversations on blast? That's cold.
The problem with the way that Young Thug did Mariah is that that girl was really writing for him. That's the problem. The problem was that Young Thug was incarcerated for almost 3 years, and that girl was with him screaming, free Thug, free Thug.
This also clears up so much about the way Mariah's been moving lately. If you saw her recent performance of Is It a Crime on stage, she looked absolutely heartbroken, like the weight of the world was on her shoulders. People thought she was reacting to the fresh news of Young Thug's cheating, but in reality, she had been carrying this burden for almost a year. She had been doing everything possible to protect both herself and Thug from total public humiliation while secretly crumbling on the inside. But no matter how hard she tried, it was a losing battle from the start. Once those calls were out there as public records, she couldn't control who got them or what they did with them. Deep down, she probably knew the truth, that it was only a matter of time before everything spilled out anyway. And remember those texts where she asked the blogger about looking into a FOIA process? That wasn't just some random thought. FOIA, short for the Freedom of Information Act, is a law that allows regular people to request government documents and records. Mariah was desperate enough to even consider fighting these leaks on a legal level. That shows just how cornered she felt, searching for any possible way to put a lid on a situation that was already spinning out of her control. When Mariah brought up the FOIA process, she wasn't just talking randomly, she was desperately searching for a legal way to stop those jail calls from spreading. Since the calls were made inside a government facility, they were classified as government records, which put them under that same law. She was basically asking if there was some loophole, some trick in the system that could block the release. But here's the harsh truth. Jail calls are usually public records no matter what. FOIA wasn't going to save her because, in reality, FOIA is what gives people the power to request those calls in the first place. So even if she tried to flip it to her advantage, it was a losing battle from the start. That's why people like Whack 100 and others were able to scoop up those calls and start leaking them out for the world to hear. You can imagine the stress Mariah must have been under trying to keep everything quiet while secretly knowing in the back of her mind that those recordings could surface at any moment. Think about the pressure. Every day, she had to live with the fear that her private pain was just one click away from being exposed to millions. And when that very first recording hit the blogs, it must have felt like her stomach dropped to the floor. She knew the floodgates were opening, and there was no stopping it now. Day after day, more calls started surfacing. And with every leak, she had to relive the betrayal all over again. Imagine carrying that weight for almost a year, knowing more dirt might still be sitting out there, just waiting to explode. At the end of the day, the truth always comes out, no matter how hard you try to bury it. Once those calls started spreading from other sources, it was likely the final straw for her. She had already been hurting in private for months, and now the humiliation was out in the open for the entire world to see. All the energy she poured into protecting both herself and Thug had been in vain, and now her private heartbreak had turned into public spectacle. Some people out here are convinced Mariah isn't going anywhere, that no matter how bad things look, she's still too tied up in young Thug to walk away for good. The whispers are that this whole "I left him" storyline might just be a front, a carefully staged move to protect her image while she's still holding him down in private. Folks are saying it's all about saving face, keeping up appearances, and shielding herself from more public humiliation. But others are calling cap on that theory. They're pointing to all the pain she's already been through, the leaked calls, the public embarrassment, the sleepless nights, and saying there's no way she'd still be standing by his side after all that. According to them, this was the breaking point, the final straw that made her finally step away for real. So now the question is hanging in the air. Did Mariah actually cut ties for good? Or is this whole breakup talk just another cover-up? The streets are split and the debate is only getting louder. But what do you think? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I really want to hear how y'all feel about this situation. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so more people can weigh in on the drama. I'll be watching for your takes, and I'll catch you in the next one.